Prisons are designed to keep the most dangerous criminals off the streets, but every now and then, one escapes in a way that defies all odds, leaving behind a story that would shock the world. Today, we're diving into the untold story of one of America's most daring and dangerous prison escapes. This is the story of Richard Matt and David Sweat and how they managed to escape from the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York, one of the country's most secure prisons, forever changing the way we think about security and the possibility of escaping the unescapable. Richard Matt and David Sweat weren't just any ordinary inmates. Matt, a violent criminal with a history of assaults, and Sweat, a convicted murderer, had both been housed in Clinton Correctional Facility for years. Despite the prison's notoriously high security, which included thick concrete walls, razor wire, and a heavily guarded perimeter, the two men managed to carry out a daring escape that would make headlines around the world. What made their escape even more remarkable was the fact that they weren't just ordinary criminals. They were extremely cunning and able to exploit the smallest of details to their advantage. Clinton Correctional Facility was a high-security, maximum-security prison that housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the state of New York. It was considered nearly escape-proof due to its advanced security systems, including watchtowers, alarm systems, and surveillance cameras. But Richard Matt and David Sweat defied expectations, not by brute force, but through meticulous planning and exploiting the flaws in the system. Both men had spent years inside Clinton, and for years they'd studied every detail of the prison, learning its rhythms, its weak points, and the patterns of the guards. They noticed the places where guards were distracted, where surveillance was sparse, and where small errors could be made. For months leading up to the escape, Matt and Sweat began to slowly work on their escape plan. They managed to gain access to tools and materials that would help them break out. Matt, known for his ability to manipulate and charm people, started to form alliances with some of the prison workers, including those who operated inside the maintenance and plumbing areas. One of the key parts of their escape was the maintenance tunnels, which were poorly monitored and connected different parts of the prison. The escape started with Richard Matt. Using a hacksaw blade, he began to slowly cut through the steel walls of his cell, hiding the progress under the guise of normal activity. Over time, he was able to cut through the steel bars and create an opening large enough for him to crawl through. Meanwhile, David Sweat was also working on his escape route, using similar methods to break through the wall of his own cell. The process was painstakingly slow, but both men were patient, careful not to alert the guards or their fellow inmates. The night of the escape came on June 5, 2015. Both Matt and Sweat crawled through the holes in their cells and into the prison's maintenance corridors, a hidden network of tunnels that connected various parts of the prison. Once inside the tunnels, they navigated through the dark, cramped spaces, using the prison's infrastructure to their advantage. It was like a game of cat and mouse, where the inmates were the mice and the prison's security system was the cat. With each step, the two men grew closer to freedom. Once they reached a larger maintenance area, they used tools to cut through a steel door that led to the prison's exterior walls. Once on the outside, they had a few more miles to cover to get to the nearest wooded area. But the men knew they had to move fast. As dawn approached, they were already on the move, weaving through dense woods, trying to cover their tracks as best as possible. For a while, they managed to elude authorities, and the search for them went national. The authorities quickly launched a massive manhunt, involving hundreds of officers and state police, helicopters, and even K-9 units. The escape from Clinton Correctional Facility was big news, and the entire nation watched as the two men remained on the run. For weeks, it seemed like Matt and Sweat were constantly one step ahead of law enforcement, constantly changing their location and making it nearly impossible for the authorities to catch them. They received help from a network of supporters, and rumors swirled that they had even made it into Canada. But the chase didn't last forever. Richard Matt was eventually tracked down and shot dead by law enforcement on June 26, 2015, near the town of Malone, New York. David Sweat, however, managed to elude capture for a few more weeks. But on June 28, 2015, he was apprehended by state police after a dramatic search. It was the end of one of the most intense manhunts in recent American history, but the story didn't end there. As the investigation unfolded, it was revealed that Matt and Sweat had not acted alone. The escape involved not only the two men, but also Joyce Mitchell, a civilian worker at the prison who had been providing them with tools and other assistance. Mitchell was later arrested for her role in helping the two men, and she claimed that she had developed a relationship with both Matt and Sweat, which led her to assist them in their escape. This revelation added an entirely new layer to the story, raising questions about the prison's internal security and whether it had been compromised by one of its own employees. The escape of Richard Matt and David Sweat sent shockwaves through the entire prison system. It exposed a series of vulnerabilities in the security measures of one of New York's most secure prisons, and many officials were left questioning how such a high-profile escape had been possible. Clinton Correctional Facility, which had been considered nearly impenetrable, was now seen as an example of how even the most secure prisons could be breached with enough determination, planning, and insider help. What made the Clinton Correctional escape so remarkable wasn't just the daring nature of the breakout, but how it highlighted the lengths to which these two men were willing to go. Matt and Sweat's escape was a case of careful, calculated planning, where every detail was thought through to ensure their success. While the two men didn't ultimately escape justice, their story raised serious questions about prison security and the vulnerabilities that even the most secure facilities face. Today, the story of Richard Matt and David Sweat remains one of the most famous prison escapes in modern history. It serves as a stark reminder that no matter how secure a prison may seem, no system is ever truly foolproof, and the human will to escape can be a force stronger than even the most advanced security systems.